Hi and welcome everyone to Roo Hammer's NRL Round 3 review, where we take a look at the Round 3 results and give our thoughts and opinions. Before we get started, I'd just like to invite you all to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel to show your support for the content we create. Subscribing to the channel puts you in the draw to win some exclusive Roo Hammer merchandise. So click that subscribe button now. Mate, let's jump in and have a look at these results.
Yeah, let's do this. Again, some very interesting results and a couple of upsets as well in round 3. The first game of round 3, that was played at Four Pines Stadium on the Northern Peninsula of Sydney. That was on Thursday evening, and that was the Sea Eagles hosting the Eels. And it was a Sea Eagles 34. Tom Trbojevic, double. Olakalatu, a double. Garrick and Parker tries. Garrick 5 from 7. And the Eels 30. Gutherson a double. Sevo a double. Dory and Hodgson tries. Moses 3 from 6. Mate, this game was just insane. So much back and forth on the scoreboard. Very reminiscent of the old under-20s competition where defence was very much secondary to attack and games often had 60-plus points scored in them. So, yeah, this was very much that. Dominant first half, though, from Seabold Sea Eagles with tries to Garrick and Tommy Turbo for an early 14-0 lead. Then there was an error coming out of their end that swung the momentum back to Para. And they scored 2 tries in 3 minutes to King Gutho and Matt Dory to get them back within 4. And then Parramatta did hit back early with a second try to Eels captain King Gutho, and they took a 16-14 lead early in that second half. But then some Josh Schuster brilliance with some footwork and a chip into the in goal set up Tommy Turbo's second try. A man as big as Schuster, he technically shouldn't be as light on his feet as he is, but it does come at a cost, and we'll get to that in a minute. Manly shot out to what thought was an unassailable lead, and Parramatta produced a couple of last-ditch tries. They got within 4, and that set up an absolute grandstand finish. Tommy Trbojevic, back to his running best. He had 191 metres, 9 tackle breaks, 1 line break assist, 2 tries, and 1 try assist. Yeah. But you have to say, if you score 30 points in a game, you shouldn't lose an NRL game. Correct. And conversely, if you have 30 points scored against you, you really shouldn't walk away with 2 points.
No.
Josh Hodgson with the play of the game, the dummy, and then to run 40 metres out to score a try, dead set in slow motion, burning 3 Manly defenders in the process. I should say burning. An aging warrior, mate. He's had 3 ACL injuries, so good effort from him. But not surprising, one of those players he burnt for speed was our treadmill running mate Josh Schuster. A few guys stuck on the TB 122 there as well.
Mate, there's a lot of guys. Yeah. There's a lot of guys this season that have obviously got TB 122 for Christmas in the off season. Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, you're right. It was a weird game, and yeah, if you score 30 points, you shouldn't really lose. Yeah. And if you have 30 against you, you shouldn't be on the winning side of the ledger on that one, mate. Friday night, 2 games played on Friday night. Sorry, game 1 was the Knights hosting the Dolphins at McDonald Jones Stadium. The Dolphins' first game outside of Brisbane. The Dolphins 36. Tessie New 3 tries. Asako 2. Our good mate Cody Nikarima a try. The Hammer a try. Asako 4 from 7 goals, and for the Knights 20. Miller 2 tries. Gamble a try. Hastings 3 from 3, and Miller 1 from 1. Mate, I hate to say it, but the Dolphins are legit. The hype is real. It's Phins up fever has well and truly hit us all. So many people wrote them off before the season. I did. So many tipped them for the spoon and questioned where their first win would come from. 0-3 and on the brink of joining Melbourne as the only new franchise to win their first 4 games. Mate, it just proves that Wayne Bennett's done a tremendous job to bring this squad together and have them hit the ground running. And that's the kind of thing that Bennett has, isn't it? He's a man manager, and he has good people around him to do the skills side of things, and he just manages those guys, and he's great for that trench warfare type mentality of the us against them type of thing. And mate, he's going to have that in spades this week coming up against the Broncos.
Oh mate, the master of it. Yeah, the spin doctor they used to say.
Yeah. Mate, despite some of the players' ages, it's their forwards are tough and they're workhorses, and their backline looks really crisp and with good shape and great movement. Sean O'Sullivan is reveling in the fact he's the #1 man for that 7 jersey, but it's young Isaiah Katoa who's playing with maturity above his years and experience. You know, a lot of people questioned when he was named in round 1 ahead of Anthony Milford, but mate, this kid's just going like better and better. 3 games into his career, he's making decisions and pulling off try assist plays like he's been doing it in first grade for years. I hate to say it, but I'm really enjoying watching the Dolphins play. I'm not one of these guys that have my team and a second team, but, you know, I'm really hoping that the Dolphins do get some success this season. Mate, the Dolphins wingers, they crossed for 5 of the 7 tries in a first-class display of how to create numbers on the edges with some really good, well-executed plays. Ex-Warrior Ewan Aitken with 2 try assists in the game. That was more than his whole Warriors career. The loss was the first time Newcastle have failed to win the opening home game of the season since 2014. Dolphins forward Felice Kafusi, he was put on report twice and he spent 10 of the final 11 minutes in the sin bin. He's been suspended for 3 games and he will miss the blockbuster against the Broncos next week. Game 2 was the blockbuster Roosters versus Rabbitohs at Allianz Stadium. Always a good battle, this one. The Roosters, 20. Jackson Paulo, 2. Brandon Smith, Daniel Tupu tries. Walker, 2 from 4 goals. Rabbitohs, 18. Colin Matangi a try. Johnston a try. And now that it's Multicultural Week, we've got to say their full names. So it was Tui Tupo Thompson a try. Latrell Mitchell, 3 from 5 goals. Mate, it was another classic encounter between these 2 foundation clubs. Another chapter for the Book of Feuds written. The Rabbitohs jumped out to a 10-0 lead with within the opening 12 minutes with 2 early tries, controlling all the field position and the possession for the opening 25 minutes. The Roosters seemingly under the pump, but there was an obvious increase in intensity and energy of the Roosters once Brandon Smith and the alpha dog Jarrah Warrior Hargraves came into the contest in that 25th minute. Brandon Smith opened the Roosters scoring with a trademark run out of dummy half in the 33rd minute. And in my opinion, that was probably the key moment in the match. It turned all the momentum in the Roosters' favour.
Certainly did.
A 12-10 halftime lead by the Rabbitohs became a 20-12 Roosters lead after former Rabbit Jackson Paulo came back to haunt his former teammates with a try double. The Rabbits got back to a 20-18 with a try to the newest TB122 owner, Isaac Tuitupo Thompson, with just over a minute to go, which set the stage for a grandstand finish and an opportunity for Latrell to nail a 2-point field goal, but it fell short and the Roosters hung on for a classic victory. A couple of things out of this game. Joey Manu sent to the sin bin in the final 5 minutes for a high shot on Isaiah Tass. The hit did cause some tensions to boil over. Cody Walker expectedly in the thick of it. Michael Cheekham, he was sent to the sin bin for 3rd man in and he kind of causing the melee. He landed a cheeky, almost unnoticed jab to Manu's cheek, which opened him up. And the other one was Hame Saleh. He copped a sickening head knock in the opening minute of the game. Category 1 HIA. Took no further part in that game and he will now be subject to that 11-day mandatory stand-down policy.
Yeah, very spiteful contest, as you touched on there at the end, and the NRL would secretly be loving that because that is their favourite clash of the year.
Absolutely.
Moving on to Super Saturday, starting once again at Shibus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast there. And, geez, I don't mind telling you, it was a belter of a day up here. It was felt like about 36 degrees, super humid, and I'm surprised they actually went over the game because it was stinking hot.
Mate, I remember when we played there last year, and it was actually the corresponding weekend because the comp this year started a week early. So we played the Titans round 2 last year, and that was a stinking hot day up there as well, wasn't it? It gets
the sun followed us up the grandstand. We couldn't get back quickly enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was no different last Saturday, but it was what you would class as an upset victory. The Titans getting the job done over the Storm. Again, another high-scoring match. Titans 38. Khan Pereira, hasn't he got some wheels? He got a double. Yep. Aaron Schopp with a double. Kelly and Vuna tries. Ex-Warrior, Joseph Vuna getting over the line there. And Boyd 7 from 8. Storm 34. Meaney with 2. Pezzett, Sims, Hughes, coach tries. Meaney 5 from 6. And as I touched on, played in absolute scorching conditions on the Gold Coast. And as you touched on as well, like we know how it was hot it can be. We were there round 2 last year.
Yep.
So Melbourne, they got out to a 24-12 lead in the first half. Jonah Pezzett, son of former Crusher and Parramatta Eel, Troy Pezzett. I got in touch with Tukes, but Tukes was already at the game, so I'm sure he already knew that. But, a shout out to the Crushers there. He scored a try. It was a great try on debut, actually.
Yeah.
The Titans, they narrowed the gap into halftime, and then a multitude of errors to start that second half. Got the Titans right back into the game, virtually gifted some tries, and they jumped to a 30-24 lead. They got 2 tries in 6 minutes. Melbourne having put 2 on them 2 weeks in a row, like very un-Melbourne-like in defence. You haven't seen that in a long time.
No.
And in attack, they looked disjointed, out of sync. A lot of unforced errors in their game. Must be a serious concern for Craig Bellamy. And the dominant leaders that they've had in the club in the past, they're just not there anymore. And that would not there to keep the younger players accountable. So many inexperienced players at the club now. It's almost like they have to rebuild the Storm culture and the work ethic that they had been known for so long. And we said it about the Manly and Eels game. If you score 30 points in a game, you shouldn't lose an NRL game. And again, conversely, if you have 30 points scored against you, you really shouldn't be walking away with a win.
They've got some problems down there in Melbourne. They've got some serious problems. And as you touched on there, mate, you know, they lost the Bromwich brothers, Felice Kafusi to the Dolphins. They lost Brandon Smith. Yep. Yeah, Brandon Smith to the Roosters. Munster's out injured. They haven't got Pappenhausen there. They've got a lot of experienced players that aren't there on the field anymore to keep these guys level-headed and accountable. And, you know, when they're looking at guys like Harry Grant as, you know, the guy that's supposed to keep them all calm. We're talking about a 20-year-old kid or a 21-year-old kid here who's kind of leading that side and doing a fantastic job, you know, leading from the front. But, yeah, there's something not right at the Storm. You don't see them leak those kind of points that quickly weeks in 2 weeks in a row. So, yeah, something for them to work on, for sure.
They're starting to show their mortality, and in the famous words, if it bleeds, we can kill it.
They'll be right by round 7, though, mate. They'll be right by round 7.
That's right. They'll be played back into form that night. So.
Yeah.
Typical Anzac Day game. Moving on, the second game of our Super Saturday, that was our One NZ Warriors. They travelled up to the tropics of North Queensland, a venue where we have rarely tasted success. Another really hot afternoon/twilight game.
Yep.
And it was our Warriors 26. Montoya with a double. Egan, Tavanga, and Ed Cossie tries. Ed Johnson 3 from 5 versus the Cowboys 12. Chester and Robson tries. Holmes 2 from 2. Made a superb performance by the Warriors, notching our first win in Townsville since 2018. And that actually ended a 13-game losing streak in Australia, and I could believe it after last year.
Yep.
To hear our full review of that game, guys, make sure you do tune into our live show on Wednesday night. That will be 7 p.m. Queensland time, 8 p.m. New South Wales time. We'll be going through everything regarding that match. So tune in then. Game 3, we went still in Queensland, an all-Queensland affair. We went back down to Suncorp Stadium for the Broncos versus the Dragons, who ended up with a convincing victory, but it was one of those games where the final scoreboard didn't tell the story of the match.
Correct.
The Broncos 40, Stags with a double, Walsh with a double, Pakes, Cobbo, and Mam tries. Reynolds 6 from 8 to the Dragons 18. Bagai, Sloan, and Sullivan tries. Lomax 3 from 4. And as I mentioned, a true game of 2 halves. The Dragons had all the dominance in that first half, taking a 16-8 lead into halftime. Reynolds, a bit of a specialist with these, nailing a 2-point field goal to close out the first half. Broncos with a dominant second half performance, scoring 6 tries in the second half, but 4 of them, importantly in the final 10 minutes, to really blow that scoreline out and look like a bit of a flogging, which it really wasn't. The scores, they were locked at 18 all at the 71st minute, and there was no indication of the points fest that was about to happen. So our good mate Walshy with a double, Cobbo and Mam, they all scored tries in a 9-minute absolute blitz, and that blew the score out. Payne Haas back to his devastating, damaging best with his carries. He was instrumental in that try blitz in the final minutes of the half. And it's the first time since 2009 that the Broncos have won their opening 3 games of the season at Suncorp. Wow. And yeah, and the Broncos, they've set up a top-of-table clash with the unbeaten Dolphins at Suncorp next week. Cannot wait for that.
Absolutely. I was reading a stat too about the Eels. The last time the Eels lost their opening 3 games of the season, they finished with a wooden spoon all 3 years. Yeah, so
I hope
interesting.
some stiff competition this year, though.
But there is hope. There's a couple of teams that have lost the first 3 games of the season and gone on to play semis. Manly in 2009 and the Cowboys in 2015, or I think it was.
And us in 2011. We lost the first 3 games in 2011.
There you go.
Made the grand final.
Yep. Mate, 2 games played on Sunday. The first game was the Bulldogs playing host to the Tigers at Belmore Sports Ground. Great field to watch some footy. Great to see suburban grounds like Leichhardt and Belmore featuring on the NRL calendar. How the NRL has given the Tigers the Sunday match of the round on primetime free-to-air TV for the first 3 weeks of the season is beyond me. I don't know how it's happened, but it has.
It's crazy stuff.
It's ridiculous stuff. Mate, the Bulldogs hung on for a narrow victory. As the Bulldogs 26, Adokar 2, Hayes Perham, Burton tries, Flanagan 5 from 5 goals, Tigers 22, Naden Brooks, Polle, Staines tries, Dewey 3 from 4 goals. And after 2 weeks of acclimatisation, Tigers off-season signing John Bateman finally made his club debut. Nearly scored a try, opening the scoring for the Tigers, but dropped the ball over the line. It's the 3rd straight week that the hapless Tigers have been the game of the round, as I said, on Sunday afternoon. It was the first half highlighted by an intercept try for each team. Alamotti with the intercept for the Bulldogs for Adokar to score. Brett Naden showing great pace for the Tigers with his intercept try. Plenty of drop ball and missed opportunities for both teams during the game. John Bateman, as I said, bomb try midway through the first half, summing up perfectly the 2023 Tigers. Adokar's second try, just brilliant interchanges of passing and support play between the Fox and the young Paul Alamotti. The Tigers' kick chase just woeful. Alamotti joined the list of players looking to win the coveted TB122 award for 2023 with his impersonation of running man on the spot.
It's like someone had tied his shoelaces together every time he got into space. He just wasn't moving, eh? At least it ended up in tries.
Yeah, they still ended in tries, and he had a good game. Yeah. The Tigers with 3 back-to-back tries in back-to-back sets to get them back into the contest. There's a lot of backs in that statement. At 26-22 with under 10 minutes remaining. Luke Brooks actually playing a major hand in that Tigers fight back.
Yeah, he did.
But the Bulldogs did hang on for an ugly win to keep the Tigers firmly entrenched at the bottom of the table. Mate, this was one of the longest games of rugby league we all had to endure. It went for over 2 hours and 10 minutes because they put in the 2-minute drink breaks. They had the extended half time, which went from 10 to 20 minutes. Stoppages during the game with captain's challenges and what have you. Mate, those poor fans that were forced to sit through that 30-plus degree heat at Belmore to watch that debacle of a football game. Ridiculous.
Especially if it went a golden point as well.
Well, it nearly did. The final game of the round was Ricky's Raiders at home at GIO Stadium against the Sharks. The Raiders picking up their first win of the season. The Raiders 24. Big Red, Corey Horsburgh, 2 tries. Hopewadi, Tomoko tries. Fogarty 4 from 4 goals. Kennedy for the Sharks 20. Kennedy, Mulatalo, Ramian, Nakora tries. Trindle 2 from 4 goals. Mate, as I said, the Raiders playing their first home game in the nation's capital. They were dealt a cruel blow to start the game with Danny Levi suffering a broken jaw in the opening minute of the game, coming off second best in that tackle on Braden Hamlin-Ueli. Mate, both teams had moments of ascendancy in the game, but they really failed to take the game by the scruff of the neck. It was a try-double to Corey Horsburgh, got the Raiders out to a 14-point lead before the Sharks mounted some sort of a mini comeback with two tries to get within 4 points with 9 minutes left to play. Raiders holding on for a good victory, one that Ricky would be relishing. Gets them out of that battle for the wooden spoon at the bottom of the table. Sharks forward Royce Hunt, he was sin-binned in the 51st minute. The Raiders unable to take advantage of that extra man, though. And as I said, they hung on for their first win of the season, and it was their 9th straight win over the Sharks dating back to 2019. Jesse Ramian, he played his milestone 100th NRL game in this game. And the Panthers had the bye.
They had the bye. She's that Corey Horsburgh. He's a personality player, isn't he? He's a real sort of cult hero, the Caboolture Snake.
Do you remember in the height of COVID when fans weren't allowed at the game, and they used to have the cardboard cutouts in the grandstand, and they would play fan noise over the intercom system, so the to either to mask out the swearing of the players on the field or to give the players that atmosphere that they're playing at home. And Horsburgh got penalised for something and then hooked, and they had the crowd noise going, and he started giving the finger to the cardboard cutouts.
I think I do remember that. Yeah, he's real emotional.
He was nearly crying.
Yeah. Crying. Yeah. He's a one of a kind, that bloke. Hey.
He is. Good luck to him. Everyone loves a good redhead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we take a look at the ladder after 3 rounds, it's an all Brisbane 1-2 at the top of the table. The Broncos narrowly ahead of the newcomers, the Dolphins, on for and against. Siebes' heavily entrenched Sea Eagles have to settle for being heavily entrenched in 3rd. And our Warriors, how good is that? In 4th spot there. Big surprise after just 3 rounds.
Absolutely.
Titans moved to 5th. The Panthers in 6th, with the Roosters in 7th, and the Bulldogs rounding out the top 8. The Dragons are in 9th spot, and then there are a host of teams on 2 points. Many of them fancied favourites of 2023. So the Raiders, Rabbits, Storm, Sharks, Knights, and Cowboys, respectively. And 2 teams still winless after 3 rounds, and that would be the Eels and the hapless Tigers in 17th. They rounded out after 3 rounds.
Yeah, mate. I mean, I know it's only round 3, but 6 of last season's top 8 sides are in that bottom 9 at this stage. And, the Eels, grand finalists from last year, winless at this point in the competition. So, yeah, it's an interesting table. Turn the comp off now. I'm happy for the Warriors to stay in 4th.
Yeah, we'll take a top 4 finish any day of the week.
Absolutely. All right, don't forget, this coming Wednesday, the 22nd of March, we'll be doing our full review of the Warriors' win in our live show. That'll be 7 o'clock Queensland time, 8 o'clock New South Wales time, and 10 o'clock New Zealand time. Please, if you're a fan of our content, make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our streamed content. Other ways to show your support is to subscribe to our Patreon program. The links will be in the video description, or you head to our Redbubble store and grab yourself some exclusive Roo Hammer merch. We have plenty of designs honouring past legends of our club, current stars, as well as some great novelty prints reliving some of those memorable moments in Warriors history. The link to our store will also be in the description below. That's it, mate. That'll do for this video, and we will see everyone on Wednesday night.
Thanks. Take care, guys. Cheers.